Hey, what's up, Street Talks? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So, I just wanted to redo a video I did earlier titled "Life is about playing life is a game rather than life is a duty." So, shout out to my buddy Mark for informing me that I actually had it wrong. So that's why I made the other video private, and I'm redoing it because I had some facts wrong. Anyways, so I think many of us, the way we've been raised, and I'll only speak from the Christian Catholic perspective because that's how I was personally raised, and also being raised in America, is so much of our morality and so much of our ethics is based on notions of duty, respect, and this is also kind of an Asian Confucian thing. Is that the purpose of your life is to honor your family, to honor others, to become rich, wealthy, and powerful, and eventually give back to the community or give back to your families or give back to others, and to ultimately self-sacrifice yourself like our buddy Jesus. So this is generally the way we've been raised, and this is the way I've discovered that's very interesting with morality, ethics, and stuff like this, is that I don't think that there's an ultimate right or wrong morality or you know way of thinking or religion, whatever. Is you have the power and the right to believe and think whatever you think, to believe and follow whatever resonates with you and whatever makes sense to you. And so, knowing this, how do you want to live your life? And I think that trying to live a life that's full of duty and self-sacrifice, I think it's kind of a morbid, not a fun way to live. And I've been, and the origin, a lot of my thoughts come from, a lot of it come from Nietzsche, and also just from self-questioning myself. Beyond Good and Evil is a good book if you want to read it. But anyways, so now I think my epiphany is life should be more about playing and fun rather than thinking about this self-abnegation and this whipping yourself in the sense of duty. And this is the reason why I think about this, is first and foremost, I think being alive and the joy of being around other humans and our loved ones and so forth is one of the greatest blessings. Nobody asked to be born. Like, you're not, you know, like, I didn't ask my parents to give birth to me. I just came out to the world. And now that I'm alive, you have two options. A, stop living, aka commit suicide, or B, continue to live. And it's actually, my heart really goes out for people who are so depressed and miserable that they decide to commit suicide because they don't see life worth living and life is too painful. Now, my perspective is, I think life is the most wonderful thing, and if anything, it's actually the shitty things of life and the really difficult things of life, the things which attempt to kill you or destroy you or damage you, is actually what makes you stronger. So even for myself personally, I've had a lot of scars in the past, and I first read this in Nassim Taleb's Anti-Fragile book, is this notion of post-traumatic growth. We're always taught about post-traumatic harm. A lot of people who go in the military or what abuses children end up, and then you have all these sort of mental disorders and things that prevent you from living your life to the fullest, essentially. And I think, I don't know why I'm this way, is that I've suffered a lot of trauma as a kid, and for me, I mean, stroke of luck, and also just, I guess, my own personal studying stoicism, whatever, I was actually able to thrive and become stronger as a consequence of this trauma that I faced. And this is actually something that I find interesting too. Like, even people like Jay-Z, so he grew up in the hood, he grew up in the Marcy Projects, and if he didn't need to become so strong, he wouldn't have become so strong. If Jay-Z grew up in a nice middle class family somewhere in the suburbs, I don't think he'd become the billionaire and the most powerful guy he is today. And this is actually why I find it so interesting, is that so much great music comes from rap, hip hop, often from individuals who have actually suffered a lot, like drugs, gangs, violence, fucked up family shit, and whatever. And it's because they've been fortunate enough, and also through their own self-will and perseverance and hustle, that they were able to overcome the difficulties that they suffered in life. And I think whatever, also Nietzsche quote is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I've kind of realized that at this point, even things which attempt to harm me or attempt to attack me, honestly, the best way to just brush it off your shoulders. Like there's this nice British saying, like duck off of waters, like water off a duck's back or something like that. So in life, it's, I think one just practical strategy to live life more meaningfully or more fulfillingly is for us to not take it too seriously, not to think of it as some sort of duty, not to commit willingful pain on ourselves if we actually have an option, because I think a lot of the pain that others cause upon us is something we can't really help, but certainly a lot of the self-guilt we give ourselves is something we do to ourselves. And I think we have free will, that we could decide for ourselves, I'm going to change the way I think about morality and ethics, and therefore, to the best of my power, my ability, not do this onto myself. So I'm still thinking through this idea. It's still like very much beta phases, and every single day my thoughts change, they refine, they're in a state of flux. But I would just encourage you to think about your own personal life as more about play, more about exploration, more about joy, optimism, hope, for a better future, rather than thinking about all the shitty stuff. Because there's a billion, million, trillion shitty things in the world. Other ways to become more optimistic. This is what personally worked well for me. Uh, Delete Instagram, get off Facebook, stop reading the news, watching the news, whatever. I don't think I've willingly watched the news in the last maybe 8 years, after Nassim Taleb encouraged me not to, and it's probably been the best thing I've done. And even sometimes I accidentally see the news at the gym, there's CNN or something about Donald Trump. It just kind of changes the way I think. It makes me a little more pessimistic and a little bit more like negative and sour. And I think this is the tricky thing with our mind is it's hard to, like, if there's external stimuli that catches your attention, that's, let's say, bad news or whatever, you cannot help the way your body and your mind responds to it. And so even the energy and the willpower necessary to defend yourself against this external stimuli is going to drain your power. And imagine doing that a million trillion times a day. You're not going to have any power to creatively and spontaneously make new things, or to think for yourself, or to shoot photos joyfully, or to see the good things in life. So at this point, I'm like, okay, all the good and all the bad in life, it's all good. And the question is how I'm going to derive the maximum amount of benefits from the good and the bad. Because like even in life, there's sweet things and sour things. Often the sour things make the sweet things taste better, and the sweet things make the sour things taste better. Even like this notion of bitterness being bad, I personally prefer bitter coffee. I would much prefer to have a bitter cup of coffee than a sweet cup of coffee. So let's not even think about sweet and bitter. Think of it as all good. Life is all good. Always smile. Always be grateful of being alive. And yeah, I think one of the most godly things we could do is express gratitude of being alive, and to maybe use our power to, bring more joy into lives of others, and certainly on yourselves. So treat life like play, not like duty, and never forget to smile. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.